Well, joining us on the program tonight, Swapan Das Gupta and Shiv Vishwanathan here in the studio with us, C.R. Kesavan, spokesperson of the Congress, Nalin Kohli, spokesperson of the BJP, and Mr. Kumar Ketkar is with us this evening from Mumbai. Let me take that question to Swapan Das Gupta first. Those who have, argued against or argued in for what the BJP government has done today have basically said that for years the focus has only been on Indira Gandhi on the 31st of October, and in the process it's not just Sardar Patel but many leaders who have been sidelined by the Congress all these years, and now someone like Sardar Patel is getting his due. Would you say that in that respect this was the right thing to do today?
Well, firstly, it's a coincidence that these two events happen to be on the same day. Had they been on separate days, I don't think you would have approached the subject in the same way. Well, firstly, there was a run for unity last year when Narendra Modi was not the Prime Minister. I think some of the issues here are not concerned with commemorations and observing a particular day. It's got to do with state patronage. I think that's what the whole debate centers on in this case. There are a lot of people who commemorated, observed Indira Gandhi's death anniversary, and they have a very dignified ceremony each year at the Safdarjung Road, Akbar Road house where she was assassinated. And I think that continued, and in the morning I even saw Doordarshan telecasting it. So there's not. The larger question here is, should one person have a complete monopoly? And you spoke about politicization of figures. Of course, historical symbols have inevitably been a matter of politics. It's not something new. It's not going to end with Narendra Modi. It began with the Congress itself by relegating Sardar Patel's contribution, underplaying it, and not merely Sardar Patel. You can talk about Rajaji, you can talk about Savarkar, you can talk about Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, you can talk about a galaxy of leaders, even Subhash Chandra Bose, who was only commemorated in West Bengal.
But was it right? Look, at the end of the day, Indira Gandhi was also our former Prime Minister.
Of course.
So should they have ignored it completely?
No, who ignored
or almost completely? Nobody went to the in the morning for the memorial ceremony. The president went. No one from the government went.
Head of state.
But
I mean,
nobody went. No minister, no BJP leader, only Congresses. So it's clearly ideologically divided.
Of course, there is an ideological divide. We'd be silly in our part to say that there is no ideological divide. There is an ideological divide. It's very clear. I don't know why we are shying away from it. And that ideological divide predated today. It existed in the past, and it's persisting. I think we have I think in about 50 years' time, when the national movement and even contemporary India is seen in a greater historical sense, maybe there'll be a blurring of these divides. But for the moment, these are real-life ideological disputes.
Shiv Vishwanathan, your take on this?
Well, I wouldn't get excited about Congress or BJP. I think what you got to understand is all regimes use calendars to perpetuate their own sense of memory, their idea of what is relevant to a regime. This is nothing new. What is new, or what could be interesting, is the hysteria that accompanies it. I mean, if you expect the Modi regime to do anything else, I'd be surprised. The news
Are you talking about the hysteria surrounding the commemoration for Sardar Patel in that sense?
Yes,
or
no,
general television hysteria?
Overall, the reaction to the whole idea of Indira being ignored. You see, I think what's really interesting for me is the fact that hysteria and history have started going together.
So who's hysterical? The Congress reaction or the general reaction?
The Congress reaction is quite illiterate. If the president goes and performs the ritual, there's enough dignity. This is the inevitable fate of history. Do you see the Russians commemorating Stalin? Or the Chinese singing praises of Mao? Why do we have similar expectations? And heaven's sakes, this is a juxtaposition of two events. To make it into a competitive run for history, I think is a bit stretched.
Except that, of course, as Swapan Das Gupta rightly pointed out, Mr. Ketkar, that it just so happens that these two dates, these two events clash on the same date. But do you think that that the Congress overreacted to this, or that as a former Prime Minister, Mrs. Gandhi also at least deserved to have, to have been remembered in a certain way on her death anniversary?
Well, actually, these two dates have been on the same day for last 30 years. 30 years ago, Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated. I don't remember the BJP or the RSS or Narendra Modi himself in Gujarat celebrating Vallabhbhai Patel's birthday with such gung-ho in the last 12 years. So why it gets politicized is because suddenly they realize that they have to highlight Vallabhbhai Patel. And that was not to highlight Vallabhbhai Patel, but basically to create a false competition between Vallabhbhai Patel and Nehru without knowing history. Swapan talked about Savarkar and Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and Vallabhbhai and others. Perhaps they should also mention on Vallabhbhai's day that it was Vallabhbhai Patel who said that Savarkar could be guilty, Hindu Mahasabha could be guilty of Gandhi's assassination or plotting or at least blessing Nathuram Godse for assassination. And Vallabhbhai Patel arrested many members of the RSS, whatever he may have said later about their so-called patriotism. But the fact is, when you remember Vallabhbhai Patel, you should also remember that he was absolutely committed against communalism. He accused Savarkar and Hindu Mahasabha. He accused RSS for promoting the atmosphere of communalism and creating a divide between Hindu and Muslim. And he himself had welcomed Pandit Nehru's anointment by Mahatma Gandhi. So what is this false divide that is being created and suddenly in last 2-3 years? So it is obviously political. Swapan says it is also inevitably ideological. But the point is, between ideology and politics there is a big difference. What is happening today is political to create a divide and to create an atmosphere of as if Vallabhbhai Patel belonged in the same pantheon.
Okay, so you're talking about the irony of using him as a symbol.
Just
so I'll take that
small factual
point.
I think the first time the Sardar Patel entered the pantheon of the BJP was under L.K. Advani, and that was many years ago. So it's not.
But in last 12 years, nobody. But in last 12 years, nobody celebrated.
Kumar,
in last 12 years,
Kumar, you know very well that Sardar Patel, right at the time of the 91 elections, even that Sardar Patel was always being juxtaposed against Jawaharlal Nehru. Maybe that juxtaposition lacks a solid foundation in history, but yet in politics, iconography is always selective. People choose the heroes they want to celebrate. And if the BJP is interested in celebrating Sardar Patel for all the values he stood for in its totality, I don't think why you should have any real objection, since you see that there is no real difference between. But you know,
he says he doesn't understand it because of his history with the RSS.
I have full respect for Patel. I have
exactly.
Full respect for Patel. That's not the question.
Kumar, you also have a lot of respect for Nehru, but you know, a lot of people may not share your similar adulation. But I don't think that's really. I mean, people can be free to choose their own symbols. I think what we are really talking about, people are complaining about, is state patronage. Now, to my mind, history is not something which should be state determined.
But now but isn't that what's happening? It's just happening with a different figure.
It's a celebration. It's a celebration.
But then you see, you know, is there a way that we can, you know what, and I'm going to ask the Congress this, Shiv Vishwanathan, which is that other figures, as we said right at the beginning, became obscure during the Congress's rule. So it only became about Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi, right? So somewhere we need to correct that. It shouldn't be only about A or B.
See, I think the danger is correcting history. No, I think they have to realize this in a longer perspective. I mean, the Congress has been as amnesiacal about its figures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so wait. So if that is so, I think suddenly for them to recover certain bits of memory seem rather peculiar. For me, when regimes come to power, they rewrite history. They rewrite calendars. It's natural. It's not just a question of patronage. Regimes have to create collective memories. And second, let's face it, the regime needed it, especially when it became a nationally dominant party. See, as long as it operates at the state level, there is one set of tactics about memory. When it becomes a national regime, it needs national figures. And you know, what surprises me is the ease of appropriation. That is really what worries me. Because if you look at it carefully...
Or it's admirable, you could say.
No, I leave admiration to you. I'll just look at it as a set of easy Machiavellian tactics, which the Congress allows, because it should have anticipated this. It should have seen that this kind of thing would happen and they could have created equivalent events.
That's a very interesting point you make about appropriation, and I want to return to that. And I do want to ask Mr. Kesavan of the Congress that at the end of the day, why, call this move today then bitter and petty-minded and disgusting and, all the adjectives Mr. Sharma used in various interviews today, when, you yourselves have basically, relegated icons and other leaders of this country to the sidelines. I mean, if you just look at, for instance, the expenditure that the UPA government did on advertisements over the years between 2010 and 2013. Okay, these are official figures. You all spent 21 crores on ads for Rajiv Gandhi, 15 crores for Indira Gandhi and 8 crores for Sardar Patel. So that just gives you a sense of where the priorities lay.
Three questions you asked me, Nidhi. I hope you give me the time to answer. First, on this very solemn day, we really pay our respects to Vallabhbhai Patel ji, the modern Bismarck of India, united 562 provinces, and was the greatest modern, one of the greatest makers of modern India. And at the same time, we also paid tribute to the first ever woman Prime Minister who ushered in the Green Revolution, who liberated Bangladesh, and who gave up her life as the first Prime Minister in the line of duty. But one thing we have to remember, I've heard the arguments. The common thing between Indira ji and Patel ji is that both of them were against the concept of imposing unity by uniformity. They never wanted to usher in unity by imposing uniformity, and that's where the fundamental disconnect is. First thing is, they're talking about appropriating Patel. The BJP has no history. It is bankrupt of ideology and leaders. I'll just give you an example. In February 1949, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji said, the idea of a Hindu Raj is a mad idea. It will kill the soul of India. And look at the ideology of the BJP with Yogi Adityanath and Shakshi Maharaj and even Mr. Gopalakrishnan from Kerala, who wrote an article in the RSS magazine Kesari saying, Godse got the wrong target, he should have indirectly attacked Nehru. This is their ideology. And look at RSS, and I'll give you another example. RSS leaders were meeting the ministers and giving them suggestions. Let's go back to the history of the RSS. Mr. Golwalkar, he said Ahimsa is the greatest betrayal perpetrated on the country, and Mr. Golwalkar said, non-Hindu should be subject to Hindu domination and they should not be even given citizen rights. This is what the RSS and BJP stands for.
My question to you is how the Congress has systematically ignored, you have ignored other national leaders at the cost of Nehru and Indira Gandhi. Isn't that a fact that over the years, in a sense, Sardar Patel got reduced to becoming a Gujarati leader? Rather than an Indian and a national icon? Didn't you also sideline him?
Everybody is being fooled by the white lies. This is the white lies of the opposition. You see who named, the Sardar Patel, National Police Academy in Hyderabad. You think the Sardar Sarovar Dam was named by BJP? It was done by the Congress party.